Hey guys, welcome to Star Wars Timeline. Today I'm reviewing my second episode in the Droids show. If you missed my original review from the first one, I'll put the link in the video description below. Now I'm letting you guys know this is my first time watch and a first time reaction. I wasn't even going to check out this show, but some of you have recommended it on YouTube. A lot of my Facebook followers told me like, hey, you should do a review on this show. So I decided to go with it. Now, before we jump into it, quick spoiler alert. Guys, I'm going to talk about the episode's story and characters and so forth. If you're interested in checking it out yourself, please go see it first and then come back and, we could talk about it and you will hear my thoughts on this. Now, without further ado, let's talk about episode 2, Escape into Terror. Just to give you a little bit of heads up, from my first reaction to the first episode, I wasn't exactly thrilled with it. I saw enough in the show to say like, yeah, I want to continue watching it, and it got me curious enough. And as an animator myself, I have a BA in traditional hand-drawn animation. The visuals, the art style of the first episode was really what got me into it. But I needed a little bit more to enjoy the show. And I'm happy to say that majority of this episode and what I'm going to talk about kind of delivered and got me even more curious and into the show. Now, what was the premise here? Obviously, if you're watching this, you saw the story yourself, but I'm just going to quickly reiterate what happens here. We have a lost hyperdrive. C-3PO is working on the surface of the ship, and, the hyperdrive floats away. So now they got to get another one. They got to go with another unit, and they go to a planet called Anno. And they find out that their nemesis, which was pretty surprising to me, we see Tig from and his father coming back in this episode. They're building some kind of a powerful super weapon in their secret base. I honestly thought that this show is actually going to feature only R2-D2 and C-3PO in each episode, surrounded by a completely new cast of characters, and they're going to rotate them out. So it was pretty interesting to see all the returning cast here and give us some kind of a continuation of the story. It's not what I expected at all, because I had zero knowledge what the show is all about. What did I really like in this episode? First and foremost, I gotta say, the way that the artists draw spaceships and technology in general, like droids, is really, really on point and really beautiful, and I just really appreciated all the details and that very specific 80s cartoons aesthetic, which is very dear and close to my heart since I'm an 80s kid. When we check out the Anno planet's spaceport, that also puts that in that distinct Star Wars universe. Yes, it's a children's cartoon. It's a little bit different from what you'd expect in the movies, but it still gives you that idea and a sense of Star Wars. And later on, when we check out the From's base on the planet, and when we go to their Trigon space station, they also have that very cool technological feel to them that puts you in that frame of mind like, yes, I'm watching a Star Wars show. And it's just really, really beautiful and well detailed, and has that lo-fi, hi-fi science fiction look to it. So here we see Tig's father, actually, this 900-year-old Sis from, and he's this gang leader, and they have their ambition of power. They want to become the #1 gangster group in this region of space. And there's really funny and interesting dynamic between the father and son, because Sis, he's not too fond on his son Tig, because the Tig always fails. He fails in the first episode, and the father's like, maybe it's the time I'm gonna have to replace you. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. This is supposed to be a father and son, but there is no love lost between the two. That was a pretty cool dynamic, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Later in the episode, when we go to Kia's mother's house, we see this guy, Gar, who is like one of the 80s, one of the helpers, and he looked suspiciously like a rebel from the original trilogy of films. Like, I'm talking about his uniform. And later, of course, we start suspecting when we meet Kia's mother, and she talks about this freedom in the galaxy. It already puts questions in your mind. And then there is the two droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO. They kind of like wander off around the house, and they find the secret base, which are like, okay, now we're getting into nitty-gritty of the Star Wars, of the original, trilogy, because obviously this is around the time where the cartoon was done, and it makes the connection to that trilogy of, the first rebel groups, which I actually researched on Wikipedia. The show is supposed to take place about 15 years before episode 4, and it seems like in that version of the events, the rebel groups are already there and they're fighting the evil empire. Then there is Attack on the House, and there's this very interesting and deadly, by children show standards, infiltrator droid, and he attacks the group. And then, the group fights off, and we start getting some revelations. Kia's mother tells the rest of the group that, look, we are fighting for the rebellion. We're fighting for peace in the galaxy. And, that's what we want to do. We want to destroy this secret base of the from gang organization. And this was really fun and enjoyable because, first of all, Kia and her mother, they look like rebels. And story-wise, what they're trying to do also relates back to the general idea of Star Wars. It's a small group of, these rebels of with inferior, things at their disposal, fewer resources. They're trying to find a stronger foe. Then we see Jord and Kia go alone by themselves to the hideout because they think they can handle matters. And of course, they get captured intentionally or not. And we see a bunch of Thal gang droids. And then we see Thal, the other speed racer, and droids arrive to the base, and all hell breaks loose. There's tons of action going on, and this is where I really started enjoying this episode a lot more than the previous one. It's a lot more packed with story and a lot more action going on. And once again, it's a children's cartoon, but even by those standards, when Thal, he's like pushing the droids into the walls and he physically tries to fight them off. That was a lot more interesting to me, adult watching this stuff. Like, okay, now we're getting into it. It was also funny to watch how the droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO, blend in. And that's exactly what they did in episode 4. It's like, I'm like, oh, okay, try to look inconspicuous as sees from and his gang is passing along. It was really funny and cool moment. I really enjoyed that. And they basically sneak the rest of the group, thanks to the droids, in these containers. They're able to arrive to the Trigon base. And what ensues after that is my favorite part so far of this show from what I've seen from the 2 episodes. A really awesome space battle, which is beautifully animated. You see all those fighter ships, which are very reminiscent of the Imperial interceptor fighters with those pointy kind of like wings. And the way that they animate those ships flying through space. Remember, guys, this is all animated by hand. How they maintain proper perspective and when the ships change directions and, they have these attack patterns. It is so beautifully done that it conveys the feeling of like, space and combat and really tense moment very, very well. From artistic standpoint, is where I'm really, really enjoying the show. And now the second episode boosted the appeal even more when we see a lot of action. And there is a premise of that relates to the Star Wars in general, saying that, look, there's a smaller rebel group trying to find these gangsters here for the freedom of the galaxy, of course. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that. And of course, we have all the cast returning, like the speed biker guys, like Kia, who I really enjoy, and of course the droids. And that's something that I did not anticipate. I think I was misled, or maybe I have misled myself by reading somewhere that this show only revolves around the droids, and then each and every episode features other heroes, and it rotates them out, that you never get the chance to get a feel for them. So that was part of the hesitation that I had with the show, but I was happy to see the returning cast because you now, as a viewer, begin to build a relationship with them. And to me, that's the most important in any show, whether it's a very simple base kind of like cartoon for kids, which is all about the adventuring and the action for it, or something a little bit more layered like the Bad Batch show, which has like very layered storylines and, it sets up ideas for future seasons and so forth. Here, it's a lot more basic, but you enjoy the show based on who the characters are. So later on in the episode, when we get to all the space combat and action, you feel for these characters and you relate to them and you really want them to succeed. I'm actually now enjoying the show a lot more than the first episode, which I sort of kind of like chugged through because you guys asked for it. But this second episode kind of like cemented it, like, yeah, I'm definitely going to finish this season. Check it out. It's only, I believe, one season long, and then the second season only has one episode. Let's check out why this show did not continue, why it didn't pick up. Sometimes you have something really, really awesome, like the relatively recent anime remake of the Thundercats, which lasted only one season long, which I felt was amazing. It was so well done. It reinvigorated the franchise. It was, went in a bold new direction, but it kept the spirits of the Thundercats show as I remember it, when I was a kid watching the originals. So I really liked that, but for some reason it didn't last over one season. Let's see what's going on here with the Droid show. I'm going to finish that and hopefully continue on with the Ewoks show. Anyway, that's it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. My name is Benjamin. I do Star Wars comic book and book reviews. I have a podcast. I do character highlights, lore videos. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate your support. Leave a comment down below. How do you like the show? Are you also watching it along with me, or have you recently just seen the show? And what was your overall impression of it? And I'll see you guys next week.